Okay, got it.
Okay.
All right.
Then we'll just need you to get back to screen share, and then I'll click start webinar.
All right.
There you go. I'm excited.
Thank you. If they cooperate, there we go.
Okay, so I'm going to click start webinar.
It's not letting me go back. Okay, there you go. Okay. Thank you all.
We might want to wait a couple minutes. We only have a couple people in right now.
I'll introduce you first.
Yeah, Ellen will speak first, and then you can.
Okay, just let me go. Yeah, tell me when to go, and yeah.
So we'll maybe wait like 2-3 minutes, and then we'll get going for all of you who are attending this presentation.
Good. Just gonna meditate here. Hope the power doesn't go out. It's like really crazy over here. Are you guys in Oakland?
Yeah, it's pretty rainy here too. I guess we can get going since I know everyone probably has another session to go to after this one. For the sake of time, we'll get started, and I'm going to leave it over to Ellen to introduce our speaker today.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is the art session titled My Journey Through Art as a Way of Coping and Adapting to a New Culture. And I am very, very pleased to introduce our guest speaker today, Rachna Rajan. She earned her Bachelor's of Arts degree from the University of Pittsburgh as a double major in studio arts and history of art and architecture in December of 2010, and her Master's of Education degree from Carlow University in December of 2015. She's currently attending Seton Hill University, working towards a master's degree in art therapy. Her artwork primarily consists of abstract painting and drawing. Much of her work uses the concept of stream of consciousness and explores surrealism within the context of the postmodern era. Her influences derive from various aspects of modern life, particularly electronic music and the experiences of being a refugee of the 1990 Gulf War, in terms of using art as a release or channel when dealing with and adjusting to life circumstances. She has participated in group exhibitions at Modern Formations Gallery, 707 Gallery, Garfield Artworks, and the Spinning Plate, and has had a solo show at Art Space 105, Spack Brothers, and Irma Freeman Center for the Imagination. So welcome, Rachna.
Thank you, Ellen. I'm so grateful to be here to share my story. When Ellen asked me to be a part of this event, I was very honored. I feel that I haven't really told my story in such a format, so I'm excited to share with you. Like Ellen said, I am an art therapy student. I think that my purpose of my presentation is just to really just tell my story of how art really became a place for me to channel painful emotions regarding the Gulf War. Like I said, the sake of visibility is very important for people of color and minorities specifically. So I just want to bring awareness and the role that art has played in my life. Just to give you a brief background, I know we heard about it, but I just want to explain a little more, just because there's so much of a complicated conglomeration for a 9-year-old at that time. So I wanted to spend a good bit of time just explaining my story in the context of moving to Pittsburgh. I grew up in Kuwait, which is in the Middle East, as you know. I lived there until the age of 9. And then when the war happened, my parents and I and my sister happened to be in America on vacation. So we fortunately were not in Kuwait when the invasion occurred. But that also brought a whole plethora of issues for me, like guilt for having escaped and my friends were still there and I don't know what even happened to them. So that was a huge like source of discomfort, just no closure regarding that. And as I'm saying in this slide, art class was not even offered in Kuwait. So it sort of just became a challenging time where I didn't really have any kind of like outlet for the emotions because I didn't have art class. So was not really used to that form of expression. And so actually I knew I was an artist by the time I was, excuse me, by the time I was 4. I think most people, when they're artists, I think most artists do know that they're interested in art at a very young age. And I think most young people do enjoy creating. So just the fact that I didn't have art class was a very stifling and alienating experience. So like I said, we were in Pittsburgh and I started to go to art class. I started 4th grade and I remember distinctly how I felt when I saw the art room. Just, the stacks of construction paper, just all the art supplies. It felt like heaven. I don't know, I just got so excited. And I think just my story, I hope if you take anything away from it is I hope you can see how art can really be a channel, a vessel for a lot of painful emotions. So yeah, fortunately my family and I were able to relocate. And I just want to give you a few examples of how my art started to develop. Here's a little book I made. I think it just is a good example of how just having that open-ended, just presenting so many art materials to a young child can inspire them, and they could just start making anything from books to paintings or, constructing anything out of 3D. And I just was really proud of it because it felt like a way to express just what I'm interested in. And it just felt exciting to have like a way to do that, to express my interest in art. So I was really proud of that. And it's basically my first example of something I created when I moved here. So I wanted to show you that. And as you can, when I show you all the art, I think there's going to be a common theme too of landscapes and places. And I think that's also pretty significant, the fact that I'm drawn to creating places, which I'll touch on later. But so I just wanted to talk a little bit about what happened when I moved here. I think most people do, I don't know, many children I've met or people in general have said they've been bullied in some form as a child. But my experience with it, it just really opened my eyes to how people can kind of fear what they don't know or what they don't understand. So as a 9-year-old, I really came to terms with that it is a very real emotion. When people don't understand you, they sort of either shun you or they pick on you. So that was very interesting. It was very eye-opening. I think as a child, I assumed that was like a part of human nature. I think I just assumed that's just how it is and I just need to deal with it. But as I talk more about my story, it's so apparent how things have changed in a positive way for me because of art. And I think my goal of the presentation is just to show how creating, not even art, just any sort of creative expression can really help to bridge gaps for people, minorities. There were many times in my life where I felt I wish the teacher, not even the art teacher, I just wish teachers in general would have welcomed that opportunity to learn about a different culture. I think art would have been a great way to invite those kind of conversations. You could have a minority student talk about just their culture and maybe draw pictures of clothing that they wear there, or I don't know, just so open for many kinds of interpretation. So I just want to kind of drive home that point that art is a great way to increase diversity. Yeah, as I was saying, I remember thinking that, and where I am now in life, it's sort of, I'm playing that role now, of that teacher that I wished I'd had. Oh, this is funny. Just another example of, it doesn't have to be painting. It's literally anything. I think just inviting that, giving that space to a student to just ask themselves, like, what would you like to present to the class? Because I remember feeling like I had to assimilate as soon as possible when I started fourth grade. It was like, okay, let me see how quickly I can get an American accent and dress like them. And, I didn't want to stand out at all. I just wanted to blend in. But in hindsight, I wish that they could have, I don't know, just asked me more about, okay, where's Kuwait? What would you like to share about it? My parents are from India, so that also gives me, I have knowledge of Indian culture and Arabian culture. And so I think art would have been a great way for me to explore that with people. But instead, it was sort of like just quizzical looks, like, where's Kuwait? And then they would just move on to, like, the main interest that they had. And there's a picture, there's my art behind me in that picture. I was always very proud of my art. I remember just having that opportunity to explore an art class. It became like a haven for me, really. I would just go there when I was getting picked on. I would just ignore them and just create, in my books. So yeah, it was just that art gave me that shelter to explore more introspection. Yeah, the following slides are pretty much just to give you an idea of the way art became, I know I say it a lot, but it literally shows up. And my art therapy professor, she mentions that a lot. She says, let the art speak to you, So these examples, I feel, are definitely good examples of just that sense of, like, I'm creating my own reality because my current reality isn't giving me much opportunity to communicate, sort of getting picked on or having to fit in. So art became just accepting. It would, like, art never says no, it's always welcoming. It's just a place that you can go. So I really, I'm happy to be able to share my art because, like I said, I haven't really gotten the chance to do that. With art shows and stuff, most of it's newer work. I haven't shown my progression up to this point. So I'm very grateful for that. Here again, you can see the progression starting to happen here, where it's not really realism. It's just like my own reality. I think it's interesting when I look back on it. I don't know. I see a lot. It reflects to me that desire for a peaceful, just being in touch with my imagination is a godsend for me during that time. Like I said, those painful emotions of war, things I didn't understand, just negative behaviors that I saw through the bullying. This was my response to that, was just to create my own imagination somewhere I could really explore. Because at that age, I realized that imagination knows no bounds. It's really up to you, whatever you want to create. And that was just so exciting to me. Which reminds me of that John Lennon quotation. I think he said, reality leaves a lot to the imagination, something to that effect. That sums it up, how I was feeling at the time. And I found I was starting to gain recognition. This is a picture of me when I was 13 with my dad. It was a group art show for the school. And I remember feeling finally I'm starting to gain some recognition, whereas before it was more just, blending in with people. So now it became a way for me to just develop my own voice. So that's very important. And at 13, I think that is a very important age where you're learning your identity. So this is a pivotal moment, is being in an art show, where before I didn't even want to be noticed at all, so now I'm starting to become more confident. And so basically my grade school years were me trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? I know I love art, but I didn't know what direction, because, it's pretty open-ended. So I went to Pitt and I loved it, but I noticed there were a few issues I had there. I studied art history, and I noticed that the survey courses, they would start with the classical period, which is the Greek and Roman architecture and art. But I remember feeling like they didn't, it was all Eurocentric, you know. They didn't even offer that many classes for Asian art or more specific cultural art history courses. And I just feel like I started at that point to realize that a lot of the educational paradigms were problematic for me. It just seemed like written from one perspective. A lot of the textbooks and the classes offered very Eurocentric, or just predominantly just from one perspective. So I remember thinking, I wish that there was more diversity. It's like I'm coming from the South Hills and then going to Oakland, and I just kind of still felt like I'm dealing with similar issues still. So for me, I still develop my own style, and I like that example of these are pretty large, and actually 2 of those drawings were never returned to me. It's quite mysterious. Still never found those. It was interesting. My teacher put them on the table for pickup, and then I went to grab, it was rolled up and it felt heavy enough, so I assumed all 3 were in there. Then I go home and unroll it, and it's a bunch of newspaper and all kinds of just junk stuff like rolled in there. So that was I don't know, I was upset but also kind of flattered just that someone liked my art enough to keep it. I don't know who it was, I don't know, but I think it's a good example of kind of the ideals I have. It's like the blending of Western and Eastern thought. I don't know if it's Eastern really, but I think there's Indian influence there, because if you've seen some Indian textiles, there's a lot of patterns and details. So it's a piece I'm glad I took pictures of it. Yeah, very proud of that. And I usually don't like my art, so it's a lot to say that I like it. And then I just wrote some terms that I feel are important to keep in mind when just working with students, when basically we're trying to be inclusive. And I think that's so important, is to be aware of some issues that minority groups are facing and be able to have those conversations, without getting being able to have conversations is really important. And this is another highlight of my life, obviously. I was the commencement speaker at Carlow University for graduation. This is the first time in my life where I felt that I was given that space. It was just, I can't really describe how it felt. It was just a very moving point. And I just feel that if we as a society were able to give the space to those who don't have a voice, it would really make a huge difference, So I wanted to mention that I was a speaker, and that really changed my life, because I like basically being bullied and not being able to do art, even in Kuwait. It was like, I felt very stifled, is probably the best way I could describe that. And I just think an artist who knows they're an artist but isn't able to express it, just not able to create, it's painful. Not to sound melodramatic, but you just don't feel understood, and you feel ignored, which is probably the last thing you want for a student to feel. I think students should be encouraged to explore what makes them passionate, what is important to them, just basically self-knowledge. And I think art is a great way to encourage that within students. And so after Carlow, I found a teaching assistant job at Pittsburgh Montessori. I'm still there, and it's the best job I've ever had. Montessori, to me, is a very hands-on approach, which for me as a visual person, it's a great way to retain information, is actually applying, concepts, math, English, science, into hands-on activities. And not to mention studying art history at Pitt, when I see the building, just walking to the building, to me, it's just a very uplifting feeling. I love seeing Renaissance columns, and it's just, I don't know, it makes me feel proud to go there. So I was very grateful. that's the thing too. When I went to Pitt after I graduated, I couldn't find a job as a bachelor's of art major. It just was very difficult. So I decided to go back to school to Carlow, and I met Ellen there. And it's because of Ellen really that I went back to school for art therapy, which we'll come to later. But I just think it's very interesting to, when you reflect on your life, just seeing how little events happen that change the trajectory of your life. And so my job, I've been there for 5 years now. And probably one of the first things I noticed when I started at Montessori was how student-centered it was. All the teachers seemed really interested in differentiating education with their students. Like they knew each student so well. And I think I just take that for granted. I assume all teachers do that. But, you know, in Kuwait, not even having art class kind of gives you a sense that it was very homogenized. It was very, you know, just everyone fits this one box. And if you don't fit, too bad, you know, that's kind of the attitude. So in Montessori is probably like a complete 180 from the school I was accustomed to. And in the next few slides, I'll show you some examples of multiculturalism, which to me, it really was so uplifting to see that, because finally, it's like I'm finally experiencing what I wished I had had as a child. Intersectionality, that's a term I've heard a lot lately, but I think it is very important to be familiar with that as we become more globalized, and there are different aspects in different groups of people that, you know, people just should be aware of different, just different issues people are going through. I think it's so important. So the next slides are examples of students' work. We focused on Kuwait because it was a art project for the whole school, and each classroom got to choose a country to focus on. I suggested Kuwait because, like I said, I'd wish that this had happened for me when I moved here, like this project, you know. But that was, let's see, it happened in 2017, and I moved there 17 years ago. No, I'm sorry, that's wrong math. Okay, like 20 years before that is when I moved here. So, you know, it's just like a little late, but you can see the progression happening. So that's really important to see that, you know, the paradigm is shifting compared to when I was in school. And I just think it's fun to, yeah, the kids obviously were having fun with it. And I think that's super important when you're teaching, is to make it fun, you know. It probably took forever to make those too. And yeah, again, just inviting those conversations, you know, just helping children be aware to not be egocentric. It's just really probably one of the most important life lessons, I think, as a young person, to just be aware that there's so many other ways of life, so many other countries. Yeah, that's super important. So it's very uplifting to be a part of that project. And then while I was at Montessori, I also worked as an assistant at Pittsburgh Center for the Arts. So as you can see, I'm becoming more involved artistically, which is a huge deal for me. Just knowing that I knew I was an artist at such a young age. So just finally being able to be immersed in art was really exciting. And again, just a way of showing, I made a book because my nerves were so out of control that I had to focus on something to help me feel centered. So I wish I had taken pictures of what it is, but basically it's me and interacting with kids in different camps, and I don't know, making books feels like a fun way to kind of explore a lot of stuff and then be able to share it with people. It seems like a nice little mode of communication for me. There's a self-portrait. I don't look happy at all. But yeah, just to show you that the art making was so plentiful. It was the summer, so it was just a really great summer of creating. And I'm really impressed by some of the student pieces. That's paper mache. Yeah, it was super, I think not having something and then getting it, like being deprived and then being able to take part in what you were deprived, like it just makes a huge impact. And I think I just never take it for granted now, like even if I'm just sketching something, you know? I'm like, okay, this is like huge, just not being able to do it. And now I'm able to just do any kind of art I want. It's just, to me, I hope you guys can kind of just start to see how art for minority groups is such a great way to communicate. Because a lot of times when you're going through difficult things, I think verbal communication can be challenging. So I just feel that art's very accessible if you have the materials. And then here's some other examples. Like I said, I'm mostly drawing. I'm into painting, so just working with metals, and it's hard to tell what that is, but it's a block with, yeah, some nails of metal. I think it's soda pop cans actually. But yeah, again, just having fun with different kinds of material was exciting. And then that was a class I actually taught, and it's based on the book The Dot. That I feel is a great book for young people to kind of get that concept of, like, you can have dots, but they're all different. It's like snowflakes, like they're all unique. And I just feel that was an important project for me to teach, because yeah, I feel like individualism is really important in development, just in anyone's life. So I try to find opportunities as a teacher, just to invite people to kind of explore themselves and just, yeah, see what makes them unique and embrace it. Again, this is stemming from when I moved here, just that experience of having to assimilate as fast as possible. And then, you know, just being embarrassed of I literally was ashamed of my culture, because anytime there'd be another Indian person, it was me and one other kid in my grade, but they would always like tease us, you know. And then I just remember anything that was Indian, I just kind of like distance myself. Like, and then some kids would say, you know, it smells like, because the food was pungent, just things like that. I was ashamed. And these are real emotions. This is like something I went through. It was by myself. I didn't really talk about it. And I just remember teachers just ignored when I got picked on, you know, and that probably was more problematic for me. Just the fact that the adults around me didn't put the kids in their place, or didn't just even ask me if I was okay, you know. So just relating that back to when I started teaching, I just really paid attention to how kids are being treated, and I really wanted to emphasize being an individual and being proud of your culture. That's very important. You know, it always will be. So I hope that you guys, in studying diversity, just seeing that art piece that goes along with it, it's very important. Again, just to, I put that in twice, oops, just to show again, like the different media that was offered at PCA. I'm not sure if you've come across Shrinky Dinks before, but kids love them. It's pretty cool. You draw it on a large, I forget what it is. It's plastic of some sort, and then it shrinks, and then you can wear it. And again, it was just a way to kind of just learn more about what excites you. You know, I mean, it's just like so diverse that it's just really exciting. And I think just being around kids, I get to relive that feeling again of just being so excited to create, because yeah, it just keeps me young at heart, I think. So around this time at Montessori, I started to really gain confidence in my art. I wrote a statement, and for me, I think it is difficult to put into words what I like to create, what I'm drawn to. So I think that encouraging people to take that time to really reflect and try to verbalize what it is that moves you, what's important to you. I think it's really important for a child's development, is helping them just talk about what's interesting to them. And I mentioned music, and that's probably as important. It's just a very like symbiotic relationship to me. I'll talk more about the music later. Okay, so this is also a huge moment, and I hope it's not too much self-disclosure, but I am a very honest person. So the divorce that I went through, which is 4 years now, I think, again, art was a way, art, yeah, it saved me really, because I'm sure everyone knows it's painful. It's been compared to, you know, death. I mean, yeah, it was like a death, loss of my ex. But I think my experience of not having art and then art becoming so prominent, again, it played a huge role. And like I said, Ellen had mentioned art therapy. Before I met her, I didn't even know that was a field. I mean, obviously I knew therapy, but it was the first time I'd heard of art therapy. So that is stuck in my head. And then so when this painful experience happened, it came back to me, and I felt that there was a reason that I came across that term. So I looked into it, and I just feel that this ending of my life, the end of that relationship, it was the beginning of another venture in my life. And I just think it's interesting to see how art became a way to make that transition into something else. So I think it's very important to, I don't know, the concept of alchemy is very interesting to me. Just the idea that you can turn something negative into a positive. I think alchemy is a ancient term. Oh, not ancient, but yeah, very old. And I think the context was transmuting metal into gold. So I just feel it's a very great concept to be aware of, especially when dealing with painful experiences, because I think I just didn't want it to stop me. I didn't want something negative. Reminds me of that saying, you're not what happens to you, but what you do after something happens to you, something to that effect. So I feel that just my previous experiences of being able to be an artist after not being able to, it again became a way to change my life for the better. The campus is beautiful at Seton Hill. So every time I go there too, it's just something I just don't take for granted, just being able to go and create art and share it and help others does feel like my purpose. And it's a gift to figure that out. So yeah, as I've been saying, art therapy, it's just basically, I'm showing more visuals to refute what I'm saying about art bridging gaps where, sometimes verbal expression, especially coming from another culture and verbalizing in a new culture, it brings with it a lot of issues. So I feel that art not only helps to communicate, but it's also a literally like release of emotion or energy, just active creating. Doesn't matter what it looks like. It's just that feeling that you're actually able to express energy. I think there's something to be said about that. Shouldn't be underestimated. So yeah, a few more examples. And I think when I look at this now, I can see the Indian influence. It's pretty apparent in some of them, like the one on the right, even the colors I used. If you see Indian art, there's a lot of red. They believe red is an auspicious color. It's used in a lot of religious rituals and like weddings. Most of the brides wear red. So I just think it's interesting that a lot of Indian motifs and influences start to come out as I get older. It seems to be progressing. And then I wanted to mention that as I started creating art, I noticed some symbols coming up. And I do see a serpent-like figure on the left. And I've studied a little bit about ancient mythology. I know that in several cultures, serpent represents wisdom. So I thought that was interesting that came up. Question mark, like I said. I see planets coming up a lot in my art too, which I think is interesting because when I moved here, people used to make fun of me because they said I was an alien, because the term when you have a green card is resident alien. So that was like an incessant source of being made fun of. So I just think it's interesting that I put planets. It just, I don't know, I feel like I've always thought of myself almost alien just from hearing it so much. And then I sort of just like embraced it, like, so what if I am, like, that's kind of neat. So yeah, I don't know, just art became a way to just own it, like, okay, so what if I'm weird or different? Like, good, I want to be. I mean, I don't want to be alienated, but it's almost like art gives you that vehicle to explore it rather than just like feel stifled. So and then I just love the art therapy program because we are given opportunities to explore just things that I always wanted to as a child. And again, I see the patterns coming up, and I just think it's very just making a mask itself is interesting to me. I don't know, just feeling like we do wear masks a lot of the time. So just kind of like thinking about different personas that we do take on and making sure we are aware of that, you know, like we have that strong sense of self, but also being aware that we do take turns playing different roles. So I think mask making was also very important to me. It's something that I probably will look into more. I know that mask making is a good technique to use for people dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. It's just a way of like stepping out of yourself and exploring different roles you've had to play. And then I just wanted to show, a few examples of my work in art therapy in the program. I just find it really cathartic to make collages, just to look through other visuals, you know, not necessarily what you're creating from your internal self, but just things that grab your attention from the external. It's a good way to externalize things you're going through, and once it's out there, you can kind of reflect back and notice what appeals to you, or you know what you're drawn to. Okay, so at this point in the presentation, I'm kind of showing you what's been going on the whole time. You know, I work in Montessori, I'm going to art therapy school, but all the while I have that retained sense of, oh, I'm an artist, you know, like I was an artist in Kuwait, and now I'm gonna even be more into it, you know. I just think these are really fun examples. Again, you can see the Indian influence, I think. There is a lot of pattern-like motifs in my work. I just feel like my confidence at this point, these pieces are 2 years ago, are from 2 years ago. I'm just starting to gain confidence at this point. Starting to really feel proud of myself. And I think that's just something that took a long time for me to develop. Even though I was doing well in school, I really wanted that feeling of acceptance, you know, from my artist peers. So at this point, this is from Redfish Bowl. I show a lot of art there. It's a local gallery in Lawrenceville. And I just, at this point, I'm starting to feel very involved. And that's just something I haven't felt up until this point. From being bullied and not fitting in, and then going to Pitt and not feeling like I was resonating with the program there. And then, just being that professional person, you know, this is a good way for me to just explore other parts of myself that it's always an ongoing process. And I feel like you can see different architectures and almost Middle Eastern type shapes coming up. So I think it's interesting that the art it reflects things that have happened to you, whether you expected them to or not. So I think that's exciting. Yep, there's me again. So now triangles start showing up a lot in my work. And I've heard that triangle is the strongest shape, like structurally. So I find that interesting. I make that correlation, and you can see again the planets and the alien type of feeling. So I find it interesting. And then on the right, you can see literal aliens in that black and white painting. So I feel like I'm just really beginning to like I said, I'm owning it instead of running away from it. And then, the question mark again, which is interesting. The one on the right, I feel like I don't plan any of these. Like I literally will just put my music on and then my hand just starts moving. It's really interesting. When I actually think about it, it's just something, I don't know. I think the pain and a lot of difficult emotions have just become like a source of strength for me. It's like I've learned to internalize them and process them, and then it just sort of comes out in this ordered way. I just find there's something very symbolic about that. Okay, that's that black and white painting I was talking about. I just it definitely has a mood, it's sort of I don't know. I think the fact that I was picked on for being different, it just really sort of pushed me into this direction. And I just think that giving that space to someone to do that, it's important. So I just wanted to show that. And again, at Redfish Bowl, I started to get opportunities to be out and present my work, doing live paintings outside. Just these are things that really start to build my confidence And I think as a minority, just anything that invites me to share my perspective, I don't know. I just feel like that doesn't happen enough in school, in society, it's like at Bread Fishbowl, it's predominantly white males. And I feel that for me to get exposure, or I think for me, I mean, the opportunities are there, but it's like they have way more confidence. They just, I don't know. I just think that I've had to work harder, to, yeah, just to get that feeling that people are open to listening to me, to be presented with the same opportunities. I just feel like I've had to work really, really hard. And so it's nice to finally feel that, yeah, I'm getting more opportunities and getting a chance to share what's important to me. So that's, I wanted to mention that. And this is a pretty large piece I'm still working on. The one on the left, it's 5 feet by 5 feet. I think the places that I create, I feel like that's just the direction I'm going to keep going in, because I think it is a very important point, that we create our own reality. We choose to believe what we want to. So a lot of it is our own choice, and so I think that just presenting my own worlds, I hope that would give people that encouragement to spend more time within, not so much on social media. Yeah, just kind of, I think as young people develop, because I work with 3-year-olds in a mixed age classroom. That's how Montessori works. They put everyone in, like 3 to 6-year-olds in one classroom. And so I feel it, I just want to encourage people to, it's a very important time, and I already see that they're really into their iPad. It's just like they want to just plug in and tune out. So I just encourage more art making, because it literally will take you away from the screen. And I think we need to balance the screen time out a lot. So, and the one on the right, it's a great example again of tiny little places, like little microcosms and, the larger picture. And so I basically invite people to kind of just step in and go to the microcosm, instead of looking outward so much. And again, I think that's the basic gist of this presentation, is just as a person who was bullied a lot and someone who wanted to forget her culture, art became a place where I could start to explore more of that and be able to share it. I think that's probably the most important thing for me. I don't think I'd want to create so much if it wasn't being shared, just finding my own voice as a minority. I'm really grateful for that. So I just wanted to include just different concepts that I think art will help to facilitate within people. Yeah, just being able to create something, talk about it, show it in a show, have people recognize it. It really helps. So I just feel like when a person's starting school from another culture, just even giving them that space, would you want to explore this? These are different approaches we could do. Just even having that conversation, I don't know. I would have loved that, as a young person. I had to find it myself. I had to create my own way of expressing, but it would have really made a difference for me if a person, like an older person, would have helped me with that, Okay, so yeah, I think the point is getting pretty obvious here. I'm gaining confidence, and yeah, I mean, you can just see how proud I am of myself, and that's just something that I feel like people of color specifically, they have to like redevelop that, just because of what we've seen in history, how their voices have been quieted, from not being explored in the curriculum to not given materials, like on a very fundamental financial level. A lot of oppressed people don't have access to it. So I think a lot of issues that we're seeing as far as, I mean, yeah, this is getting a little bigger, but just violence and neglect and things, it's like it takes a village, to help bridge those gaps and make sure no one's left behind. So I just feel like this slide in particular, it's helping to see how a person of color, through support and encouragement, can start to really boost their self-esteem. And I'm definitely not that same person, you know. I've just seen how my life has changed so much from not having art to being like immersed in it. Yeah, it's yeah, don't really have words for it. Yeah, DJing, that's also me trying to look super cool. So yeah, it just it's great because I feel that art right now, you know, it's just so open, and you can pretty much do anything, you know, and yeah, it's I want to share that with young people, just that excitement that I have for it. These are recent works, and again, getting that chance to just show it, even just right now, you know, it just makes a change on a basic level, and that's really important. That I want others, people in power, to be able to understand how art can really change someone, so that they're aware of if someone's struggling, you know, just to be able to have those conversations. And so I think this is the last piece I've put in. And I think it's a great, I don't know, it kind of encapsulates my journey thus far. Like I said, I studied art history, and I think I mentioned in another piece that I'm starting to blend the Western ideals with my own personal approach, and I think it's a good encapsulation of the direction I wish we were going in. You know, it's like taking the good from predominant ways of thinking, leaving the bad, just taking the good that everything can offer you, and making your own interpretation of it. I'm very proud of this piece, and I did it during finals and working a lot. So it was just, I don't know, sometimes I'll make something and then look back and just say, oh, wow, I did that. Okay. Like I don't even remember. That's what I mean. Art can be a very spiritual experience. It takes you out of yourself. I mean, you're exploring yourself, but it's almost like you're in tune with something bigger than you. Yeah, I just feel that the topic of inclusivity, and diversity, you can't have that conversation without art. I just feel like it touches people on such a fundamental level that it's something that you know, when I heard about art being taken out and funding being withheld for arts, it just really seems very like it's just a defeating approach. And I just feel like if we did more to promote art and work together, I don't know, it could really make a lot of positive changes that we need to see. And so, yeah, I just wanted to take a minute on, this is my most recent one. So I think you can kind of see that progression from, I think I'm going from like the smaller abstract to something beyond that. I just want to have a balance, I think, is what I'm looking for right now in my life with the art. So yeah, in conclusion, I feel that the climate right now, you know, it indicates that we do need a shift in consciousness, just on a fundamental level of how we help each other and people who don't have a voice. I think that if we step in that direction and just, yeah, listening, you know, giving a space, just like how I have right now, it could really make such a difference for someone who may not voice what they need. You know what I mean? Like someone who's neglected, they may not even know what they need, you know? So I just feel like being aware of what people are going through is really important. And so, yeah, I think I've driven home this fact, but I just feel like it is worth repeating, that arts are the best way to encourage someone to create their own world, and to be able to share it with someone else. And yeah, at this time, I am open to questions. I'll stop sharing now.
Hi, well, Rachna, thank you so much. I mean,
You're welcome.
I think it's pretty apparent just from listening to you speak, like how much of a special person you are. And I know you're very humble also, you know, but like your work is truly amazing. The work, your artwork and the work that you do with your students, you know, is truly very special. You know, you're such a compassionate person and such a passionate artist. So I am just very pleased and honored to know you and that you were here just to share your story.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's all I can say. Really, yeah. Yeah, it means a lot.
Yeah, well, it means a lot to us too. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Feel free to put something in the chat. If not, feel free to email any of us at any time. Raja, I don't know if you mentioned this, but do you have anything upcoming, maybe over the summer, or anything upcoming where we could see your work?
I actually have an art show next Saturday on the 14th. I could shoot you an email with more details, but it's at Red Fish Bowl. It's all one word, Red Fish Bowl. Saturday the 14th at 7. Lucky number 7, so maybe it'll stick in your head. It's right on Butler, so I would be honored to see anyone. I mean, I think the best way is to see something in person. It's free, and I'll be playing my jams. I don't know if that's enticing, but yeah, I'll be there, and yeah, I'd be honored to see you guys. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Just before we go, we have to share our closing code. So that is the word release. It's a capital RELEASE. I mean, and how appropriate is that? Like, you know, just like the release of, you know, your art and just, you know, all of that. So anyways, thank you so much for being here. I look forward to talking to you again too.
Yeah, it was great to see you. Yeah. Thanks. Yep. I will keep in touch. Hope
All right.
my show. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Yep.